Hello and welcome back to the channel. In this video I'll be sharing with you a requested tutorial on how to cut this off-shoulder wrap blazer dress. So if you haven't yet subscribed, please hit on the subscribe button. Let's dive right into today's video. So here's my pattern paper. At the front part I marked out about 4 inches extension, which will be for the wrap part of this dress. So after this, you're going to go ahead to mark your measurement. This is an off-shoulder dress and you want to take off few inches at the upper part. So I'll be using -4. You can use -5 also. So from here, I'll go ahead to mark 9 inches, which is my shoulder to bust, 12 inches, which is my shoulder to under bust, 17 inches, which is my shoulder to waistline. And for this dress, I'm adding extra 7 inches because one side of the blazer is a bit long while one part is shorter. I'll repeat this whole process and I'll go ahead to draw out a straight line, and I will label my pattern, which is shoulder to bust, under bust, waist and blouse length. So for the upper part, from this mark I have, which is the extension in front, I will mark my nipple to nipple divided by 2. My nipple to nipple is 7 inches divided by 2. I have 3.5 and I'll add extra 1.5 inches. So if you don't want to add extra 1.5 inches, you can go ahead to add 1 inch to it. Now you want to go back, place your tape at the upper part, that is that -4, and you're going to mark your chest line. To get that is your bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5. If I place it at that -4, I will mark that 7 inches, minusing 4 inches from the upper part, and I will go ahead to connect. Now at that your chest line, you're going to mark your bust circumference divided by 4, and from there you're going to connect to the upper parts to form an armhole curve at this point. Next step is to mark your nipple to nipple divided by 2. My nipple to nipple is 7 inches divided by 2. I have 3.5 inches and I'll go ahead to mark. So I'm going to mark this from the upper part of my pattern to the lower part this way. So after I'm done marking, I'm going to go ahead to connect this all the way from the upper part to the lower part of my pattern. After I'm done marking out, I'll be taking a basic dart intake of 1/2 inch on both sides, come down by 1 inch from the bust, and I'll go ahead to connect this all the way to the upper part and also connect on the other side. After I'm done connecting, I'll be extending my dart by 4 inches at the lower part, and I'll go ahead to extend and also extend on the other side. Now I'll go ahead to use my marker to outline this to make it more visible for you to see. And after I'm done doing this, I'll be adding my measurements to this pattern. I'll also go ahead to draw out my armhole curve, and after I'm done drawing out that, I'll start inserting my measurement after the line. So I'm going to mark my bust circumference divided by 4 and add 1/2 inch for sewing allowance. Mark my under bust circumference divided by 4. Measure this dart intake we have here, replace and add my sewing allowance. At the waist, I'll mark my waist circumference divided by 4, measure the dart intake, replace and add my sewing allowance. Here, I'll mark my hip circumference divided by 4 and add my sewing allowance. So this is a blazer dress and it doesn't really need much sewing allowance. You can use 1 inch for it. So after this, I'll just go ahead and I will connect my pattern all the way down. After I'm done connecting, this is what I have. The next step I'm going to take now is to outline this and go ahead to cut this out. So this pattern is also on fold because the other side is different from this side of the blazer. So I'll repeat all these measurements I have here on the other side of my blazer also. So now after I'm done marking the other side, I'll fold this. I'll be working on this side of the blazer first. So what I'll do is from that my nipple to nipple point, I'm going to go ahead to come down to the lower part of my pattern, and I'll be going down almost at the bust part of my pattern this way, and I'll go ahead to outline. So I'll take my tape and I'll come up about 3 inches or 3.5, and I'll go ahead to connect. After I'm done connecting, I'll mark this out Now I'll go up by ½ inch or come down by 6.5 inches because my waist to blouse length is 7 inches. I added extra 7 inches. I'll blend that out and I will connect. Now working on this upper part, sorry, this other side also, I'm going to mark that my nipple to nipple point divided by 2 again, which will serve as a guide, and I'll be extending this all the way to the bust line also. So after I'm done marking at this point, I'm going to go ahead to outline this. So I'm going to place my tape and I'll come up almost at my waistline. So from that my waistline, I'll be measuring out about 4.5 or 5 inches. And from this line, I'll measure out about 3.5 inches from my waistline. And I'll go ahead to connect this all the way to the lower part of my blazer dress, and I'll outline this and also outline this side. So when you're blending in at this side, you can go in by 1 inch or 1.5. So I'll go ahead to draw out this line now, and this is what we have at this point. So we are almost done with the front pattern, and you also remember that there's this strap from the nipple to nipple point to the back. So you want to measure from your front part of your dress to the back the length that is okay for you. So you can use about 2 inches on fold, that is about 4 inches. Fold it and stitch it down to create this strap. Another thing you want to put into consideration is the color of this dress. But first, we'll go ahead to cut out this dress. So if you have any question regarding this tutorial, you can go ahead to ask. And after I'm done cutting out, this is what I have. So this will be overlapping this side, and you want to just create this button allowance. You can as well top stitch it because there's a zipper at the back of this dress. Another thing you want to have in mind is the color of this dress, which starts from the front to the armhole and will cross over to the armhole of the back and then extend to the back pattern. So I'm just going to cut this out to show an illustration of probably how to cut this for yourself. So you need about 2 pieces of this, one coming from one side to the other part of your back and the other one repeating the same. So you want to use any measurement of your choice, and you have to do this probably when you're done cutting, or you're going to measure the person or measure your fabric starting from the front all the way to the back pattern. So here is the back pattern of this dress that has a zipper allowance, and I've gone ahead to mark out my measurement just like we did for the front. I did the -4 inches before getting my bust, waist and top length also. So for the back, I used 6.5 from the waist to the top length because on one side of the back we went up by ½ inch. And remember, this back will also be separate hemline just like we have for the front. So I'm going to mark my nipple to nipple divided by 2 on that line and add that extra 1.5 inches. Place my tape and I'm going to come down by that same 7 inches, which is my chest line, and I will rule out a line at that point. After ruling out a line, I'll go ahead to connect. After I'm done connecting, the next step is to mark my bust circumference divided by 4, and I'll go ahead to connect from this point all the way to the lower part of my pattern. So after I'm done doing this, I'm going to outline this and start marking my dart also for the back pattern. For the back pattern, I'm going to mark my nipple to nipple divided by 2 just like we did for the front. I'll also go ahead and mark it on my waistline, come down by 4 inches from the waist, and I will go ahead to place my ruler and draw out a straight line. And after I'm done connecting, I'll be marking a basic dart of ½ inch on both sides just like we did for the front. Come down by 1 inch from the bust. Go ahead to extend my dart at both sides. And after this, I'll go ahead to extend also at the lower part. The upper part, mark your bust circumference divided by 4 plus your sewing allowance. Go ahead to mark your waist circumference divided by 4. Measure the dart intake, replace and add your sewing allowance. Here you're going to mark your hip circumference plus your sewing allowance. Remember, all this measurement is starting after your zipper allowance. So for your zipper allowance, you can use 1.5 inches or 2 inches on that point. And after you're done marking, you want to go in by ½ inch on your waistline, extend it to the upper part and extend it all the way to the lower part. You can decide to replace this allowance you took out on this side so that it will not reduce your sewing allowance on the dress. Come down by 1.5 inches or 1 inch or 2 inches and extend it back. So now you want to extend this and take it down to the zipper part. You can go ahead, place your tape, at least come down by 5 inches, not to make the back look so long, and then you can go ahead to cut out. So this is me cutting out one side of the back. After cutting out this side, you use the same pattern, turn it to the other side, and you use it to cut the other side. But when cutting the other side, since we came down by 3.5 inches at the waistline, that is what you will repeat at this side and go ahead to connect, and you can just go ahead to cut it out also. So after cutting this out, this is the back. Also remember that the back has a collar which started from the front, all the way to the back, and you also want to include that. So now this is my sleeve. I've placed my tape -4 and I marked my shoulder to elbow point and my sleeve point, my sleeve length. So next you want to find your chest line, which is your bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches, which will also give you 7 inches, or you can use your sleeve cap height at this point. But I used my chest line, and when you're doing this, you will also minus that 4 inches. So at this point, you'll mark your armhole circumference divided by 2. Mine is 16 divided by 2. I have so 8. The next step you want to take is to measure from the front side of your armhole to the back side of your armhole. Whatever you have, divide it by 2 and add half. Mine is 8 inches. Divided by 2, I have 4 plus half, giving me 4.5. So from that point, I'll place and connect all the way down to my chest line. So after I'm done marking this, I'll measure around my elbow divided by 2, and I'll mark and also add my sewing allowance. Mark my wrist circumference divided by 2 and add my sewing allowance. Now you want to go ahead to cut this out. So this is your basic off shoulder sleeve. So I'll go ahead to cut this out, and you also add the collar or cape after you're done joining your sleeve.